Alright, let's start going through this stuff. What do you guys say? Can you see everything? Look good? Everything's readable and things like that? Okay, so, spoiler-free. Yeah, you guys were good. Other than maybe the title screen being spoiled for us. Let me turn the music down here a little bit. And I guess I kind of knew there was 15 chapters because that's where the chapter was saved. Alright, so music's a hard one for me to rate. So I feel like I didn't hear a whole lot of the music in this game, to be honest. And I was actually talking about this with my buddy Jim earlier as well. I feel like the game does have a good OST. The songs that I heard were really good. But half the time there's dialogue or random things that happen in the game when you're like traversing the world and stuff like that completely go over the music. It's completely drowned out. So every time you start to hear a song out on like the overworld and stuff like that, it goes away. You don't get to hear it. You don't get to experience it. It doesn't start at where it was at or anything like that. It's like it's over. It's like it was playing in the background the whole time. How many times were we trying to listen to a track and we had soldiers over our head and things like that would drop down, or random enemies to the right or the left of us and things like that? And you can't really count the OST in the car either, because that's just stuff that's taken from other games. Yeah, that's good music, and it's cool that it's in there, and you can experience it if you're going to be spending a lot of time traveling and stuff like that, but that's not really a part of the game. It wasn't created for this game. It wasn't a genuine part of the experience. So, what I did here I really liked, but just how you go through the game and actually experiencing the music and stuff like that's really difficult. The battle music was fantastic. Some of the cutscene music and stuff like that was really good too. But I'm looking now, and this says there's 96 tracks. Hell, there's maybe even more if there was like some type of special edition or something like that. And we heard maybe 20% of it. Maybe 20% of it that I am aware of, that I can even remember. And because of that, it doesn't leave that much of an impact on me. It's not that memorable. The tracks that I remember the most are the ones that were played the most often, which was like the battle themes and things like that. But what I did hear of it, I did really like. But it's a little bit hard for me to give it a really good rating because of that. But that's just design of the game. I should really listen to the OST before I rate this, honestly. I think that's the only real fair way to rate it. But since the music was really appealing to me, what I did here, and I'm actually interested to hear the rest, and I'm a really big fan of the composer, and I feel like it fit a lot of the cutscenes and stuff like that happened, because that's what this game really was. It was essentially a movie. Let's be honest. And I'll get more into that. Oh, jeez. Well, I could go without listening to that. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. I feel like the OST was really solid. It wasn't quite as memorable as some other games because of how it comes across in the game, but I can't deny that what I did hear of it was good. Alright, so the graphics. This game is beautiful. There's no denying that. They definitely went for the realistic approach while trying to put it in this fantasy world and things like that, and getting the whole Final Fantasy aspect to it. But it was really realistic looking and things like that. The magic of the series that I'm a huge fan of, I feel is missing most of the time. There were aspects of it that it focused on, and most of those aspects were during the cutscenes, like the summons being spawned and things like that, or the actual cutscenes in the game. The rest of it was this attempt to look really realistic, which is okay. It looks good. The quality and the graphics and everything like that are great. They're fantastic, but I feel like that's the major highlight of this game. It looks good. So they should have focused on what they had. Take something that looks good. Make another movie or something like that instead of a game where we're going around doing random quests that have arbitrary reasons and give us some experience and things like that, and give us some RPG elements to them and things like that. Focus on what you did well. Focus on the aesthetics. But they tried to make a game out of it, and I feel like it suffered. The aesthetics suffered. The actual experience overall suffered. Granted, I did not experience the whole world, I didn't go everywhere, I did not do everything, I did not check every nook and cranny of everything like that, because I'm not a huge open world fan. But I argue that this is one of the few worlds that I've played in where I just didn't have that much interest in exploring. There were some things that were cool, like the crater with Titan, which was this basically a rail that you're running along. Every major quest line in the game put you into like a Final Fantasy 13 rail that you were in. You might not have noticed it, but it was. It was essentially the same thing. Whereas Final Fantasy 13, you were going down rails and stuff like that the entire time. And then eventually you get to this big open world and you've experienced that and there's more things to do. This game did the reverse, and I expressed that earlier in the playthrough. You're in this big open world, but when you're actually trying to progress the game and do anything and go forward, you're on these straight lines. You're just going through. There's not much to actually do. And sadly, that's where a lot of the aesthetics and stuff like that had so much effort put into them, with the cutscenes and everything else and the epic battles and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, the graphics were fantastic, and there's no getting around it. It looks incredible. When it did show some of the fantasy aspects and things like that, seeing some of the summons that I've grown up with my entire life come to life and things like that. The big epic battle with Leviathan and everything else, it's very solid. And I honestly would give it a 10. I really would, except for the fact that I feel like the camera angles and shit like that become so annoying with the combat. And I don't know if I should really take points off for the mechanics in that regard, or whether I should take points off for like the graphics and how they did it. But again, it's a more realistic approach, and I guess I'm more of a fan of, like, you know, the magic, the even if it's cartoony in some regard, I don't care. If I want to see real people and real mountains and trees and things like that, I can go outside and do that type of stuff. Yeah, if you want to go back and watch the review and understand why I feel like it's a 10, it's not about how the graphics look per se, it's how it's completely stylized and built around the game. The environments and everything like that in Persona 5 look perfect and they fit. The palaces and stuff like that are completely built around the characters that you're inside and everything else. It's aesthetically amazing. Whether it might not be like the top-notch burning your system out and things like that because you're putting the processor to the max and your graphics card to the max so that it looks top tier, I don't care about stuff like that. None of that appeals to me at all. But there's no denying that this game looks fantastic. It does. It looks incredible. And like I said, it brought some of my childhood dreams and things like that to light. I just wish there was more of the fantasy aspect to it. I do. I wish I was fighting less soldiers and things like that all over the place and having them drop in front of me and going into these square oblong bases and stuff like that and fighting magic tech armor that looked like, honestly, it looked like really crap to me. The magic tech armor was one of the most disappointing things to me. I feel like the magic tech armor in Final Fantasy XIV looks better. But it's a really good game, and honestly, I think that I'll take more points off for the mechanics than I will the graphics. I almost have to give it a 10. It's just an incredibly beautiful game. I honestly feel like it could have been a movie. I just wish they did more with it. I wish they focused more on what they used to with Final Fantasy games, which I feel is slowly dying. Alright, so there's two aspects of the story for this game. You have the Brotherhood, the four characters together and things like that, and that's really how the story is trying to be told. You're experiencing it through them. You're experiencing it kind of knowing what's going to happen at the end at a certain point and things like that, and the whole thing is about them bonding, basically, and experiencing the world that they're trying to save, the world that they're going to rule, or that Noctis is at least going to rule. And I mean, you can call that a story. It's definitely part of the experience. But I don't know. I felt that, and the characters definitely grew on me. My friend actually brought it up pretty well. He said that it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles in a way. They kind of have those personalities. You know, it's funny. It's a very good comparison, but it's true. And the camaraderie's there. And there's some genuine moments and things like that with them, and I'm fine with that. That's great. But to make and build an entire game around it, you're basically telling the player that I want you to do everything there is to do in this world, and then you're going to really love the characters, and because you love the characters so much, you'll love the world so much, and you'll love everything about it. And I didn't have any interest in doing things like that. If I could have still experienced, like, the camaraderie between the characters and things like that without having to go do silly, goofy things to get that stuff, it would have been fine. And you're talking to somebody that would love to take friends out and go camping and things like that. Not that I have a lot of friends that would enjoy doing something like that, but I would love to go out and experience parts of the world and go camping and fishing and doing all that type of stuff if I could do it every once in a while. And I really think that type of stuff is amazing, and it definitely builds memories and things like that. But then you have the actual game story of Noctis becoming the king and things like that, and saving the world, as it be. And it's so disjointed. The way that you go through the chapters and stuff like that is all over the place. All over the place. Honestly, it's there's a point where it's all about the brotherhood and camaraderie and things like that. Then all of a sudden it switches pace and it's like, okay, shit's hitting the fan. We got to do all this type of stuff. And you fight Leviathan, and it's this amazing epic battle, and so much happens. There's so much story. There's so much progression and things like that. So much more about the characters. And then the game throws you on a train. And you're on a literal train simulator where you're going up and down it multiple times and finishing quests and things like that. And the chapters are incredibly short. And then we go to chapter 13, which is this weird, like, Resident Evil-esque walking around areas and having things trying to jump scare us and things like that. Like, the pacing of this game was horrid. The actual storyline that they tried to meld in with this camaraderie of the characters, they don't fit. They don't go together. And so for those people that argue that, like, the whole part of the experience is going through with these characters and things like that, I argue that the first half of the game was probably the better part, even though I didn't even do a whole lot of the extra side stuff and things like that. They didn't even stick to their guns, if that's what they were going for. They didn't. And overall, like, I played the game, I experienced it, I know what happened, they even give extra context and things like that, but I'm still kind of lost. I don't get everything that happened there. So we sacrificed ourselves at the end, basically, so we could kill this guy so he doesn't come back. He was inside the crystal. Like, I get all the visuals, I saw everything, and I could read up on stuff and probably understand it a little bit more, but am I really supposed to be that attached to, for one, Luna Freya, who you spend basically zero time with in the entire game? You see her story, you see her struggle, you see her die, but where's my formed attachment? I'm not Noctis. I didn't experience what he did growing up with her and things like that. I did not have the same experiences as him. And you can't show 5 cutscenes in the game of them being kids and then a cutscene later and be like, you better feel for this character. She must be the most important thing in your life. But that's not to say that the emotions and stuff like that in the game weren't expressed very well, but I didn't feel it to the point that I would have liked to. And I feel like that's because I didn't spend any time with these characters. I only spent time with the main 4 characters. And I did feel for them. If something would have happened to one of them, that would have sucked. One of them would have died or something like that, that would have probably affected me more and had more of an impact. Yeah, you spend more time with Iris, however you want to say it. I feel like they took the generic Final Fantasy story of, you know, good guy saves good girl, queen, king, so on and so forth, and they were like, we're going to put that at the end, but the rest of it was so disjointed up till that point. So, honestly, story was probably the weakest. And I argue the fact that you have to watch a movie and watch an anime to get more story out of it, I just don't think that's fair to a person that's trying to play a game, and I still don't feel like the approach was good. There was a lot of people that were arguing that this is the best way they could have told the story. Having a movie, having a game, having an anime. They couldn't have done it any other way. And because they did it this way, it was great. It was fantastic. And I really don't think it was. I could have done with this just being another movie. Like, they could have seriously just released 3 movies and I probably would have enjoyed this story, this subset of the adventure much, much more. So, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to go ahead and give the story a 6. It's better than some of the stories that we've played here so far on the JRPG tour, but it was so weak. The characters were the strongest point. They really were, and that's where it's getting most of its points. Alright, my throat's starting to hurt a little bit, sorry. The mechanics. So, the whole open world thing is never that interesting to me, and the whole going through the game and it being these rail lines that you were going down for major quests and stuff like that weren't very appealing to me either. But again, the game looks good. The battle system it's interesting. It's not something that I'm that into, and I did not get nearly as in-depth with it as I could. But I like the fact that I could switch weapons and things like that. The dashing mechanic and stuff like that's pretty cool, but it gets old after a while. As you start to learn to use more stuff with your characters and things like that, there's a lot that they probably opened up to, but I didn't really explore the combat too much. But that's on me. As for it being a quest-based system in the game to go through and like level up and things like that, I feel like that plays part in disjointing a game and its story. Because you've got some players that do everything and try to experience everything. Then you have some people that do a little bit here and there, and then they try to progress the game. And it tends to be the people that only do a little bit here and there that really miss out on a lot of things. Both the progression through the sphere grid type system and really seeing what the game has to offer battle-wise, and also just some of the encounters and stuff like that that you might see because you just don't go to search for a quest or something like that. I'm very curious to know how many types of quests there are that were like that Behemoth quest, where it's really in depth that you go through, you're spending time with the characters, you learn a new mechanic of blowing up barrels with fire and stuff like that to kill the enemy faster. That was cool. That was well done. If the whole game was an interconnected bunch of experiences like that you could have, it would have been an incredibly solid game and experience overall, but it wasn't. It felt like it just wasn't finished. And because of that, I had no interest in going and doing a whole bunch of quests so I could get more abilities and stuff like that to unlock to see what they did. And I didn't get to experience the battle system to its fullest. But for an action-based battle system and things like that, it was pretty interesting. You don't really get to use all of your characters, which I wish you would. I don't like when you're only one character in an RPG. I understand it, it's really hard to be switching cameras and stuff like that constantly, but I still would have liked to play as the other characters and experience them a little bit more, like what their strengths were and things like that, rather than being Noctis the whole time. And the warp mechanic, although it's cool, it's just the whole teleporting somewhere and hanging up there to heal and things like that. Don't you guys feel like that really slows the battle system down from what it's actually supposed to be? And maybe you guys were just way better at the battle system than I was, but I felt like if I was ever fighting more than 2 enemies at once, I was basically healing constantly. Maybe it's a damage race at that point to be able to take them out before they take you out, or maybe I was just doing something incredibly wrong. But I feel even during all that type of stuff, the battle system wasn't really difficult. I didn't really have any trouble throughout the game. There was a couple times I had to spam healing a couple times, and battles took a little bit longer than I would have liked them to, but overall, the game was pretty tame and pretty easy. And which, again, honestly, didn't really make me want to open up to the battle system at all, or experience everything. So I'm going to say that the mechanics were pretty solid in the game, although I didn't experience them to the fullest, and the quest-based system and things like that really killed progression and things like that for me. I'm still going to give it a 7. I feel like there's a lot of people that would really enjoy this type of combat system and really want to do the sphere grid and see what all the different attacks are that they can get and things like that. Well, I think it's fun, but don't you think it gets a little old after a while? I think at the start of the game is when the battle system's the strongest, and I feel like it probably gains strength again as you progress through the sphere grid system, which I really didn't do. Yeah, the camera angles also were a struggle. I don't know how many times I teleported, then I ended up like inside of an enemy and I could not see what was going on, what I was doing, or anything else, and that got frustrating after a while. Alright, so grinding rating. There's 2 parts to this as well. I didn't really grind. At the beginning of the game, I wasn't really avoiding battles. I was kind of doing everything, but then I realized I was gaining basically no experience from anything, no AP, occasionally items that we would make another recipe for or something like that. But overall, I felt like it was unnecessary and took a long period of time, and I was using more resources to do that type of stuff. And then I would do one storyline quest and gain, 17,000 experience, something like that. And I did do some of the hunts. They were cool. But there's like how many different things you could do in the game that would be grinding. If you were trying to do all the quests and stuff like that, that would be grinding, but you don't have to. And I don't really feel like you really have to grind at all, honestly. I did have long boss fights, and I did not get to experience the battle system to its fullest because I didn't grind. So I will argue that you have to grind some if you really want to enjoy those aspects of the game. But to progress through the game, to beat it, overall, you don't really have to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 8 for grinding. Just because I feel like you're going to be doing a lot of excess stuff if you really want to enjoy different aspects of this game. Especially driving in the car. And I completely avoided the whole driving through the car thing and things like that because, again, it built the camaraderie between the characters and things like that. But I'm sorry. That had to be one of the most boring aspects to the game to me. maybe when I was experiencing new areas and like looking at them, like the first time you drive over the bridge and you see the water in the distance and stuff like that, that was beautiful. That was incredible. When you're driving past the crater and you see where Titan's at and things like that, that type of stuff looked amazing. But when you just had to drive back and forward between points that you've been to already, just because like if you don't drive, it's going to take you 15 minutes to walk somewhere rather than the 7 minutes it's going to take you to drive somewhere, it just got a little old to me. And you could even add that to some of the mechanics in the grinding rating as well. But I know because of the music that's in the game and because a lot of the people liked a lot of the characters as well, they probably really enjoyed that aspect. So it's not a bad thing. And it fit the game as a whole for what the game was, even though I wasn't a big fan of it. So the overall rating, I can't really, like, put this game too high on my list. If I were to recommend it to people, I could tell people that I don't really feel like it's a Final Fantasy. I don't. I feel like it's a game, and it's not a bad game. It's a pretty good game. There's people that would probably enjoy it more than I did, but it's a solid game. It's missing a lot of elements, and maybe they'll fix that as there's continual patches and things like that. And I feel like that's its biggest weakness, is that there's just so much missing. And I can't use the metaphor of it kind of being like Swiss cheese more than anything else. I just feel like it's there, you can see it, and you can see all the potential. You can see what it could have been, but there's just so many holes and things like that. And it greatly suffers from that. But it's a playable game. It's an experience. There's some things that have never been experienced before in a game like this. Like I said, like those cutscenes look fantastic. They look beautiful. It could have been a movie. And the only way to experience it is to play this game. And so because of that, I can't really like go too low. I can't really give the game a 5 or anything like that, because the game was definitely playable. There's aspects of it that I did not explore to any point. And that's on me. And that's not to say that I won't go do that off stream. But as much as I really don't know that there's too much that I'd be interested in doing, to be honest with you. Maybe exploring some of the aspects of the world that I didn't see before. But that's about it. I'd really give it like a 6.5 going on a 7 for me. I don't know that I'll ever replay it either. Maybe. Like I said, maybe there's some aspects that I would explore a little bit more and things like that. And I'm definitely going to listen to the OST to see what I think of everything, because I missed out on a lot of that stuff apparently. So I'd say I'd probably give it about a 6.5, and you guys know if I give it like a 6.5 or anything like that, I will round it up, so I'm going to go ahead and round it up to a 7. It's a solid game. It's an experience. There's far better Final Fantasies. I probably would have enjoyed the game more if it didn't try to force Final Fantasy down my throat. But the sad part about it is the most amazing parts of this game, like the cutscenes and stuff like that, were the aspects that tied to Final Fantasy. To me, at least. Like the summon battles and things like that. Those were the coolest things. Why wasn't there more of that type of stuff? Less technology, less fighting soldiers and things like that, and more Final Fantasy if that's what they were going for. And if not, make it your own game. Don't throw that stuff in there. Make your own type of big, epic god beast that you're fighting and things like that. But again, it's not a bad game, and I think if you were to pick it up, you'd probably enjoy it and it'd be worth a playthrough. I don't know if I'd spend $60 on it, but again, it's an experience. And from what I've been told, watching the movie and the anime and stuff like that adds to the experience, but I only saw the movie. I did not see the anime, so it's all meant to be this one big, magnificent experience, and it's an experience. Enough said in that regard. Alright, let me go through, see what you guys rated everything, and then we'll get to the raffle and everything else. I'm very interested to see what you guys thought of this. Although, like, these 3s and 1s and stuff like that, I'm a little surprised by, to be honest. If people are rating this game like a 1 and a 3, I'd really like to see the games that you recommend as being like a full-blown 10. And that's... I'm not saying that your opinion's wrong. I'm just saying that I'm completely flabbergasted if you can call something like this a 1, what you think is a 10. I'm gonna include the 1s because it's the entire chat, and even if I got rid of the 1 and the 3, it would still be about a 6.5, so you guys would be rating it up to a 7 over a 6. So the rating's very similar whether I add the 1s or not. You gave it a 5 for not enough waifus? Yeah, I like I said, I don't dislike this game. I'm disappointed by it. I definitely feel like it could have been a better game, and I did see the light shine through a few times where I feel like it could have been really strong. We can make the argument that they ran out of time or that they just didn't have the resources or things like that, but don't forget how long this game was in development for. You can tell there was a lot. You gave it a 15? Alright, that'll change it a little bit. Not likely to play this game again. We beat it on the 6th of December. Took us 20 hours, 58 minutes, and 40 seconds. Alright, guys. That means you know what time it is. It is going to be Raffle time. Let me get it set up before we start spamming Raffle. Oh, you gave it a 15 because it's Final Fantasy 15? Yeah, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of the combat, but that doesn't... The combat's something unique that hasn't really been done before. It's a new approach to the active battle system that they've been going for a long time. Paitios ruins without help? Yeah, like I said, the combat for me overall got a little bit old very quickly. But also, I didn't unlock a lot of things because I didn't get a lot of AP, so... I didn't get to experience a lot of stuff. But alright, guys, it is Raffle time. Type the word Raffle in chat if you want to pick the next game that I play. It enters you into the raffle. Everyone has an equal chance of winning. If you win, get to look at that list and pick a JRPG for me to play. Saying a game has to be unplayable to be a 1, well, yeah, okay, I mean, anybody can say that the game is a 1 for whatever reasons they want to say it, but you can't justify all the things that you can justify about a game being a 10, and then say that this game has absolutely none of those things. There's no way to make a comparison of something like that. There's no way for that to be possible. If you're gonna say that the music in this game is shit, the graphics in this game is shit, everything about this game is shit, and you want to call it a 1, then, like I said, tell me a game that you think is a 10. Compare the two. If you don't find any type of similarities between the two, I'd be completely surprised. I don't think I will rate a game a 1. I really don't. I think maybe there's something that I could get to a 2 or a 3, maybe. But I don't think there'll ever be a game that I think that is just complete and utter nonsense and shouldn't exist. Maybe some of the older games or something like that? I don't know. Yeah, well, like I said, you might like Yadro Union a lot. You might like all the aspects of it and things like that. I didn't. But I didn't give the game a 1 either. Even though I really disliked the game, I didn't give it a 1. I didn't give it anywhere close to a 1. Alright, I'll give you guys another 5 minutes or so. You've come up with a new raffle? Oh yeah? What's the new raffle? Oh god. I do not get the reference, you're right. Oh, I do get that. You have to do this snap and things like that, guys. It doesn't make any sense without it. I'll help you eat that. Yeah, well, like I said, there's a happy medium. There's a huge discrepancy between rating a game a 10 and rating a game a 1. I understand games being rated lower by different people and games being rated higher by other people based on what they see. But if a person came in at the end there and just saw absolutely nothing, or even saw like the final cutscene of the game and had no idea what was going on, could someone really see something about this game and rate it a 1? Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and do the raffle here. Good luck everyone, thanks for sticking around. Hope you have your games ready. Did you not just win? Yes. Yes, you did. What are you picking this time? You know, the whole rig thing gets all the funnier when stuff like this does happen. Someone that literally just won recently wins again. Go ahead and take your time. Pick FF15 multiplayer. Like I said, there's aspects of this game that I could probably try. If I was playing multiplayer with somebody or something like that, sure, I'd play it. I'm not gonna answer that question, Solo. Kingdom Hearts 3. Strange Journey. What system's that for? Is that the name of the game? It's just literally called Strange Journey? What's the full name of the game? Alright. If the same people keep winning, you might rage quit. I'm sorry, Doc. I mean, it's completely random. Everyone has an equal chance of winning. I guess some people are just luckier than others. But you gotta figure, there's 700 and some games in this list. There's a good chance that everyone wins at least once. Some people have just won multiple times. So what time is it? It's going on 8. If I finished a little bit sooner, I probably would have played, started doing some Quest 64, but I think it's probably a good idea to end for the night, and I'll find somebody to host you guys with. Yeah, if we didn't get that weird glitch where I fell through the bottom of the floor and lost like an hour, then that wouldn't have been too much longer of a game. I think we could have beaten it in under 20 hours. I guess there's something that can be said about that. If you do want to beat this game quickly, you could probably beat it in like 8 hours. Alright. Who are we gonna host here? Yeah, it looks like we're back to Persona again, basically. Alright, I'm gonna host High Spirits. It looks like he's doing a